UFC Fight Night, Evloev versus Murphy. We're going to go ahead and do our picks. Choose who it is that we think is going to win. Now, Melissa Mullins, Luana Carolina is the first matchup in the night. I think Melissa Mullins is actually going to take this one. Let me just make sure I have this right. I said decision. I just think that she's more well-rounded. Carolina has had a tough outing out in England the last 2 times she's fought. So, yeah, I just think that, I don't know. I think Mullins is actually pretty good. Not the best, but I think she's able to get past Carolina. And I'm going to go with decision. Chanel Dyer and Ravina Oliveira. I think with Dyer, we saw she's coming in from the Dana White Contender Series, where I think that she's tough. She's a tough cookie for sure, but she just lacks some skills on the defensive end on the feet and was getting pressured at moments that I just didn't think she had a lot to answer with. And with that said, and the reason I bring that up is that she lost her Dana White Contender Series fight. So coming in off that loss, I still think she's probably going to be a little bit better than Oliveira to get the decision win. It's just she's not even supposed to be here really with Dyer. But, yeah, I think Dyer gets the decision win over Oliveira. Now, next up, we've got Shamrock Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady. Now, this one kind of, I wasn't too familiar with Al-Selwady, but I realized, yeah, he hasn't been very active. Last time he fought was a year and a half or 2 ago. And, he lost in KO, by KO. So it's not looking too great. But Shamrock, his debut in the UFC or just his overall run in the UFC has just not been at all interesting. I just want to make sure it's just the one fight with Evloev. And he just beat him. And he was winning the exchanges. And he had some moments of good, I guess, but I just don't know if he's UFC level. And I think Al-Selwady has a little bit more to offer in his wrestling and overall fighting. So, yeah, I'm going to go with another decision. So we've got a lot of decisions so far. Now, Louie Sutherland and Brando Pericic. Okay, so this one, Brando Pericic, I think is pretty impressive. He's a big dude, huge dude, big frame, but he's got really nasty combos, and then of course the ground and pound, and he's a nasty fighter. He's coming off a KO win from his debut. So I'm gonna go with Pericic in this one. I just think that he's gonna be able to mix it up, and I'm gonna go with a second round KO. Mantas, Kondratavicius, Antonio Trocoli. All right, so yeah, I just think Trocoli at this point, it's fair to say that he's there to get hit. And with a dude like Mantas, he's going to go for it, and he's going to land one that in the end is going to drop Trocoli. And just as he's been finished in every fight he's been in the UFC, I'm pretty sure, it's going to happen again. Mantas is going to come in and finish him. He's a good, well-rounded fighter in Mantas. I think this is his debut. Very young, too. Good frame for the division at middleweight. And he's nasty, man. He gets submission wins in there. He gets some KO wins. I'm going to go with Mantas. Now, Mario Pinto, Felipe Franco. So this one was interesting. I don't think Felipe Franco was the original matchup, but Mario Pinto, ranked 15th, and then Franco coming in as a late replacement. I did a little research on him, and he's a pretty good fighter. I think he's coming in a bit undersized. I think he might be better off at light heavyweight, and I think that's what he was at before. Again, just because he's coming in late replacement, but Mario Pinto is a big dude, and he is dangerous on the feet. I think Franco does have a future. Just I don't know if it was the best idea. But although, I mean, again, you also have to take the opportunity. But I think Pinto is going to be too much, and I do see a finish in Pinto with a first-round KO. But I think Franco will look good, just a bit undersized. Pinto will KO him, though. Now, Nathaniel Wood and Losene Keita. This one I feel as though it is kind of, there's some questions there. This is Keita making his debut in the UFC. He's coming off being signed and 16-1 record. Very, very good. He's 28 years old, and he's an explosive fighter with KO power. Now, Nathaniel Wood, the veteran, and I would say at this point in the UFC, very well-rounded, coming off a controversial win. I'll say that much. I don't know if he won the last fight versus Delgado, but I will say what he showed there is that he has that experience and can switch up his game plan. in moments where, things can get tricky, because he was getting dropped and then he scrapped it out until the very end. So I think that's what he has over Keita, where I think Keita looks a little raw on the feet. I think there's moments where he overextends a bit in his shots, and he's very explosive, yes, and if he lands a shot, he could put you out cold. So I think it's a matter of whether or not Keita can land that in the first round or so versus Wood. But from there onwards, I think I would favor Wood to win the fight, at least from what I've seen so far, and just, again, the level of competition. But I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood, and I actually can see a late third round TKO. So I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood winning it towards the end. Mason Jones, Axel Sola. So, this one's a good one. This was a pretty good matchup. So I think these are two pretty good prospects in Axel Sola and Jones. Jones has been in the UFC a little longer. He's had some L's, I'll say that much. But his losses have not been the worst. I mean, like, for example, he's lost to Klein, which is at this point a pretty good fighter. We all know that now. But he's beaten Onama. He's beaten Stevens, Oki. So, I mean, he's had some pretty decent fights, and I mean decent wins. I just think Sola is pretty good, man. He's very, very good. I think with Sola, he's going to be able to match Jones on the feet and on the ground, and I think on the ground he has more pressure, where I think he can actually get the job done over Jones. Yeah, third round KO is what I have it for Sola. Jones can put up a good fight. He's shown to scrap it out, similar to Nathaniel Wood, where I just think that he can probably find a way to make the fight go longer and maybe look at countering, but I think Sola is just going to be too much for him in the end, and he'll get that late finish. Now, Curtis Campbell and Danny Silva. I was very iffy about this one because there's a lot of hype on Curtis Campbell, at least I've seen recently. He looks very good. I just think that his competition, the level he's been up against, hasn't been up to par. Yes, he's dominated everyone, and yes, I think he has the skills to win. I just don't know if he's proven, and I think at this point, Danny Silva, on the other hand, although his record can look a little iffy, I think he's won 2 and lost 1. He beat Culibao, which is a decent win, and Almeida, which is whatever you want to call that. He did lose a decision win to Vallejos, where I think Vallejos did win that fight, but it wasn't complete domination. I think that fight has aged well for Silva. He offers a lot of, he offers some good stand-up, and then the wrestling is there as well for him. Curtis Campbell, same thing, but I just don't know if he's been proven, or he's proven enough to really earn my respect here. And I think, not that it matters, but I'm going to go with Silva around 2 KO, TKO type win. So, yeah. Roman Dolidze, Christian Leroy Duncan. So, I don't know, man. I can't really look at Dolidze the same after being choked out and manhandled by Hernandez. Like, I just feel like at that point, once you get choked out like that, you lose all aura and you are ultimately probably doomed. So I think that Leroy Duncan, on the other hand, too, being a really good fighter himself, I've seen some nasty KO combos with him. He mixes it up with his kicks, with his spinning elbows, he gets into a flow state, and it's weird because he wears the same shorts as Usman, and he has the big head like Usman. So sometimes if you squint your eyes a little bit, it kind of looks like Usman, but with like hands, and it's crazy. But I'm gonna go with Duncan. I just think that Dolidze at this point, he's also like 38 or something. He's getting a little older. I'm gonna go with a round 2 KO from Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm thinking he's gonna get the KO, and Dolidze is gonna crumble, and that might just be it for him. And that would mean Duncan's ranked from there. But yeah, Iwo Baraniewski and Austen Lane. Yep, Austen Lane is cooked. He is cooked. I said it when they announced these fights. But yeah, I think Lane is gonna be laid out. I think Iwo showed that he is willing to bang, man. In his first fight in the UFC, let me just make sure I'm not thinking about it. Yeah, no, with Aslan. Yeah, that first round was insane. And I think that if it gets to that point, Lane is not going to handle the pressure. And yes, Austen Lane might have the size advantage. I think he usually does have like the height and frame advantage, but Evo's like compact, but still very, very solid light heavyweight, and he also has the ability to, if it gets down to the ground, have very good ground and pound, and I think it's gonna be first round KO. Doesn't even need to get to anything else. Michael Page, Sam Patterson. So, I think that this one, I know Michael Page has beaten a few decent middleweights, but I think it's also due to matchups, and I think Patterson can absolutely out wrestle Page. That's one thing I do see happening, and I think Patterson, having said that, I think will look to scrap it out, not stand on the feet for too long. Just once it comes to those Michael Page overthrowing a little bit, he always does it. Sam Patterson catching a leg or even just circling into his body, I think he's gonna take him down, and I don't think Page is gonna get finished just because Patterson. I mean, it could happen, but I think Patterson will probably win a decision. I just think Page lacks the wrestling, and that's gonna be his problem throughout any fights. So yeah, we're going Patterson decision. Luke Riley, Michael Aswell Jr. This one's a freaking banger. It went from like, I don't think it was listed this high, or originally when they announced the fights, I think they just kind of put them where they imagined they'd be at. But this went straight to co-main event, and I think it's for a reason, because Luke Riley, man, on the feet, I don't think I've seen another Englishman going that hard. So I'm going to go with Luke Riley, although I will say Aswell is a pretty decent fighter too. He can bang and stand on the feet. I think it's going to be a pretty like good back and forth until it isn't. And I think we might see the second round finish for Luke Riley. So I do see a second round KO. So Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy. This one, I've just been thinking on it for the last day, and no matter how I see it, I think I see a boring fight, and a fight that I don't think is going to really propel either of them to the title shot, because this is what essentially looks to be the number one contender fight. So whoever wins gets the title shot against Volkanovski. I just think their styles are going to, counter each other, and just Evloev is going to, the moment he has the ability to hold him down, he's going to hold him down. He doesn't have the submission threat, I don't think. And Lerone Murphy is, I think, good on the ground a bit, but Evloev has shown that he can just hold anyone down. So I think it's going to happen the same way it's happened for Evloev time and time again, and he's going to edge out a decision win. Murphy might have like a third round resurgence where he is able to maybe counter the wrestling for a bit, but Evloev, although we give him slack, he does have some pretty decent striking, and once it gets to the wrestling part, though, that's where he's going to overtake Murphy, and I think that's what happens in the third. But yeah, he might have a moment, but I'm going to go with Evloev decision win, and I think that just means we're probably going to see like a Silva getting a title shot over either of these two. And if that's the case, I'm not even mad. But if Evloev gets a finish, that would be the only way that there's no way it's out of the question that we know who it is that gets the title shot. So I hope we get one, but I don't know. I just can't see it. So that's it. Let me know who you think wins. Peace.